Okay, I think we're live.
Yay!
I'm gonna double check us though really quick because sometimes you can't see it. Okay, we're good. We are golden.
Yay!
Yay! Look at
Live
us.
to
We're
the
super,
interwebs.
yes, we're super techie, aren't we? Oh my goodness, Jody, I am so excited to have this conversation with you today because, as you know, you are near and dear to my heart. And for those of you that are, actually, give me just a second because it's not. There we go. Now we are public. I don't know why, but sometimes Facebook just decides to put the lockdown and not let it be public. I'm so excited to just be with you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to just have this conversation. And just to set a little context to our conversation and who you are, we are coming live to you. Jody Gray and I are coming live to you to chat with you a little bit about her experience in something called the WIT Collective. And this is a group of women really doing whatever it takes to reclaim their lives and really reclaim themselves in the midst of all the hustle and bustle and all the things that they're doing, all the roles that we play as women. And Jody, I did not pay you to come on here.
Maybe in hugs.
Maybe in hugs, I might have paid you. But Jody is here just because she wants to share with you all her experience and some of the transformation journey that she's personally been on and been on for a while. And so before I let her jump in, I'm just going to tell you a tad bit about who she is. And Jody and I have known each other, how long has it been? We were trying to figure this out the other day.
You were pregnant with Asher. You had just come to Tennessee.
Yeah, just come to just south of Nashville in Franklin, Tennessee. And Jody was one of the first people that I met. And we have been friends ever since. So gosh, we're looking at 14 years of awesomeness, right?
You know it.
14 years, a whole lot of life and a whole lot of babies. Holy cow. I think that's 5 children, right? Because Asher and then Jody has 4 of her own children that came to be in the midst of this time. So that is crazy. A lot of life, a lot of babies. If you have your own kids, then you know a lot of life happens when the babies start coming. And yeah, so when we met, Jody was in a season of entrepreneurship and business growth. And actually we were transitioning into some of that as a wedding photographer and a teacher to the wedding industry. She's had the opportunity to run retreats, own, operate, run. She kind of does it all. She's very gifted and has done a lot of that and has been in just some transition. So I'll let you tell us a little bit about who you are. If you want to add a little bit to that, but to me, you are one of my dearest friends and somebody that I'm so grateful to just get to journey life with and link arms with and do a lot of hard with, because we all need those people that we can just be 100% ourselves and real and authentic. And you are somebody that pulls that authenticity out of me, it is such a gift, because how many people do we have that we can just really take our mask off and just be ourselves with? And you're that friend. And so I'm super grateful that in a whole different capacity, we have gotten to walk through the growth journey of the WIT Collective, this whatever it takes collective group. So tell us a little bit about who you are and where you're currently at in life, and maybe what even brought you to join the WIT Collective.
Yeah. It's like, gosh, there's so much to share. Well, I grew up in Michigan. Just kidding. I won't go that far back.
Well, I was born.
When I was born, I think I weighed 8 pounds, something ounces. So, man, I would say the last 10 years of my life, if you look at my life 10 years ago versus where it is now, it looks totally different. And, 10 years ago, it was a season of hustle, of being highly motivated, highly achieving, just killing it in business. And then comes the season of, we had loss. I lost 3 babies and then I had 4 kids. And so it was that transition of not being able to do it all in business like I thought I could and I would once kids came, and then surrendering more of that as I took more on like the mothering role while still like doing business on the side or half the time and part of the time. And then, there have just been really big and hard and challenging seasons in my life over this last, decade. And I got to a place for the longest time, I thought that, yeah, I probably have some contribution, but it's mainly everyone else's fault. Like if they change, then things will be okay. And I was just really challenged that I am where I am today because of the choices that I've made. So I have the power to change things within me. I can't change others, but I can change things within me. And so that just really set me on a journey quite a few years ago of like, okay, like I see things in myself that I'm not proud with. Like I'm starting to see this stuff. I'm not as awesome as I thought I was. And so
He's so
how
awesome.
can, well, thanks. There's some parts that are awesome and some parts that just need more, need a little TLC, or if you're a believer, like need a little Jesus or a lot of Jesus. So anyway, and so I just started seeing that in me, and I knew that the way to like shift the dynamic in certain relationships that I was in, or ways that I was showing up and interacting in life that I wasn't thrilled about, like I had the power to change. So that started me on a growth journey of looking at myself and just taking an assessment and inventory and bringing people and resources and counselors and all of this stuff into my life to just walk alongside me as I'm on this journey. So where I am today, like, does that make sense?
It makes so much sense. And I mean, you said a statement that I like, you kind of breezed over so fast. And I was like, whoa, I want to say something, but I don't interrupt you. Of just, coming to that place in your life where, like you knew you had the power to actually create the shift in the dynamic, whether it's in the relationship or how things are, the conflict, or how things are going and how you feel about yourself. But you kind of said it so quickly, but I was thinking, gosh, how many people really struggle to get to that place? Because what did it take you to be able to get to that place to say, you said it this way, like, I know I had some contribution, but didn't, like, up until that moment, like you hadn't really made the shift of like, wait a second, I really have the power to make some real changes. I'm not just like kind of a little contributing. Tell me about that. Like, that is a really big transition that I think a lot of people shy away from and are scared of, because maybe if we say we've contributed to it or we have a hand in the life that we're living, we're bad, or that we're broken, or something's wrong with us, and we run from that. So what gave
or
you the
we take
courage, I
too
guess?
much responsibility, right, and say it's all my fault, and then it's like, well, there's other contributors to the dynamic that you may be in. And so I think what brought me to the place of seeing my own stuff was having a third eye, because we only see what we can see. It's our own filter, and that's all we can see. And when I was able to start bringing in other people to help me see my own contribution and to challenge me and to call me up, like that, I would say was a really big shift in my life.
That's so good. Such a great point, because it's not always even that we don't know the thing, or maybe even sometimes don't know what to do. I can think of seasons in my life where, like, we both have a life coach who's incredible. And sometimes it's like, gosh, I know to do this, but like, I would have never thought about it maybe in the way that third eye sees it and then unlocks something for me to do. So there's so much power in having that outside voice, coach, friend, somebody that's giving you that perspective. So that's huge. I mean, but it takes humility, right? Doesn't it take some level of humility, and also the desire, or I guess the desire to no longer be where you are has to finally trump, I don't want to look at it, I'm afraid, I don't like how it makes me feel if I see myself. And it sounds like that really shifted for you. Like life got to a place of hard enough where you're like, I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
Yep. I've heard it phrased that the pain of that you're staying in becomes greater than the pain that you feel that you may endure to change, because it involves facing stuff, it involves owning stuff, it involves maybe making amends. It looks a lot different for a lot of people, but it's like the pain that you're currently experiencing is just so bad. That's not like, is so much that you're like, okay, like something needs to change.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I applaud your courage first off, because I have been a kind of a front row seat and then a side-by-side linked arms seat with you, watching the journey, being with you on the journey, and you're being on my journey, as we've gotten to like grow together. It's been really powerful to watch just what humility and just like that humble heart of leaning into, I want to be different and I want to grow and I'm willing to look at myself, we get so afraid of it. And yet the doors that begin to open for us because we choose to go on that journey, like it's hard to tell people. So thinking about the woman on the other side of the screen who maybe has some fear in that, like what would you tell her of even like looking and being willing to take that journey?
Right. I would say that the discomfort and the pain in our lives is calling us to something greater. And we have the choice to stay in that, or we have the choice to start to step out of it. And it's scary and it's unknown. And there can be so much fear, but I feel like the fear is used to keep us stuck in that place where we don't do anything and we stay immobile. But on the other side of the push through is so much greatness, you know, just like a woman laboring, like labor is labor, like it sucks and it's hard, but the fruit or the baby that comes from that is such a gift.
See, you guys, she's so wise.
Just have 4 babies and then you'll get wisdom.
Just have 4 babies and you get it. You get that the pain's temporary and that the labor and the push, it's worth it. So talk to me a little bit about your time in the WIT Collective and like some of the gold that you took from it, maybe like a big takeaway or something that you said was really valuable for you.
So what comes to mind, and I have a story that I want to share if that's okay with you.
I would love story time with Jody.
Story time with Jody. So first call. So I've actually been through the WIT Collective. For those of you watching, I've been through the WIT Collective twice. So powerful the first time around. I'm like, sign me up for the second time around. So the very first time that I went through this first session or whatever you want to call it, you know, we're all getting together on Zoom, and the people who this draws are women who are like kick booty, right? Like we're highly motivated, we're driven, we're high achieving. And I'm like, I'm going to be like in this group with like some like an amazing women. And I want to present myself that I can be a part and I can contribute. So like my desires were to, you know, not have dirty hair from the last couple days and have it like down and have makeup on and have my room look nice and have all of my children like quietly occupied and settled and situated. And that just did not happen. And one, I can't be late because like that, you know, reflects on who I am as well, right? So I'm up to the call, like my hair's just thrown up. I don't even remember what I was wearing. I just felt very like discombobulated. I did not feel like I was just presenting this like what I wanted to present, right? And I was having this big emotional reaction inside of me and I felt like sobbing. And we split into 2 groups. We split into a couple groups, and one of the other women I happen to know on there. And I was like, girls, can I just be real for a second? And I just broke down and I was like, and inside, like before I like asked them, like, can I share? I was asking myself, like, why am I feeling this way? What is going on inside me? Because of the fact of the matter is that like, and I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget, emotions are thoughts trapped in the body looking for language. So oftentimes we try and squelch our emotions because it's not appropriate or it could embarrass someone or I'm not man enough. Like real men don't cry. Like, no, we have emotions that are going on in our body that are giving way to like things that are being suppressed. And so I'm like, okay, something is going on with me. And so through like the work and what was going on with the WIT Collective, I realized I don't even know where to start to sharing like all the gold that came from this, but growing up, there was this belief that I had that I'm not enough. And it wasn't because I had people saying, you're not enough and you suck or whatever. It was just these beliefs that started to pile on me based on different circumstances and how the lens that I saw the world. And so that came out in my like behavior and how I like for one example, you know, I'm like, okay, like I'm not enough as I am. So I need to make sure that I'm always like helping people so they can see my value and worth, or that I'm like presenting in a certain way or whatever. So, and that is the way that I can feel loved and valued and accepted. And I always knew that was kind of like an undercurrent
Right.
And not always knew, like that was part of the work that I had been on, of like, that has been an undercurrent like theme in my life. And then when that interaction came up with the WIT collective, I was like, there is something deeper going on. And so, week by week, like more is revealed and more like the layers come off. And one week we were talking about our shame stories, and you may be listening and be like, what the heck is that? Like, I don't even understand what that is. And it's an undercurrent like message that weighs us down, that filters, like it's a filter for the way that we see life and interact with people. And I realized that the shame that permeated my life wasn't just that I'm not enough. It was that I'm not wanted. And so that continued even more to perpetuate that performance and that drive and working for my worth. And, I felt like, and I still have times, like when I was on the WIT, I felt like I wasn't attractive and I wouldn't be wanted if I didn't look good. Like if I didn't have makeup on, then I wouldn't be wanted. Like embarrassing, like real story. I mean, it's not embarrassing, but it just shows like the vulnerability of like, I did my hair one day and I was dressed decently, and I was out at this place drinking coffee, and this like older man, he was probably, I don't know, like 20 years older than me. He like starts hitting on me, and I didn't have makeup on. And I was very shocked that he was like hitting on me because I didn't have makeup on. I'm like, he thinks I'm attractive. And anyway, I was like, dude, pass on by, like, no, thank you. I was kind, but it just really shocked me because I'm like, wait, I'm wanted like without makeup. Like, what? And so I'm just like, layer upon layer is realizing that I am not wanted as I am, just for who I am. And so that played out in so many different areas of feeling like I had to contribute in relationships or in dynamics to be wanted, or like as a mom, like, well, I have to do all these awesome things for my kids and then they'll want me as a mom. It's like, no, like, and so it's been my work, like during this collective one, of just like seeing that and being aware now of how it colors my life and the choices that I make. And then also making a shift and steps out of that.
Wow. Jody, that's so powerful. I can imagine if you live life, like you said, with this lens that's coloring everything that you see about other people. Like we live life where we are, for the majority of the day, we're responding to other people. We're responding to their facial cues. We're responding to their words. We're responding to a message we get on our phone. And if you're seeing life through the lens of I'm not wanted unless, I've got to do these things in order to be valuable and wanted and seen and noticed, I can imagine that's pretty exhausting.
Yeah. 100%, because then it's all about performance and drive. And there is like a people pleasing, yes, and there is like a genuineness of like, I really do feel like I care about people, but some of the motivation or the heart behind the things that I would do wasn't necessarily about them. It was about me getting that love and acceptance through the giving or whatever I did.
That's so good. You know what's so interesting about your story too is you had this season of accelerated business growth. Like it was compressed into a teeny tiny period. You just like went through the roof with your businesses. And when you see the shame story that you're talking about, it doesn't matter if you're like, oh, I only showed up that way in business. I just overachieve and do and perform in business. So now that I'm raising my kids, I'm not going to ever do that again. Right.
Yeah.
It comes with you, right? Like that
Yep.
thing still comes with you because it's deeply buried. Like you said, through your time in the WIT Collective, we've been able to take off layer after layer, week after week, to get to that message so that you can actually begin to live life differently, putting on new lenses and new glasses, so that whether you're building a business or working a job or leading a ministry or raising your children, like in the comfort of your own home where nobody sees you but you and them, you're still putting on a totally different lens that allows you to enjoy your life and love yourself and not be so unkind to yourself. Right?
Yeah, to be able to see how it permeates every area of the life. And I think that's what's so powerful. A story comes to mind where in October or November, I was like, you know what, I may like try and like work for some other people. And so I had an interview with the CEO of a company, and I got the times mixed up. And I'm like, I never do that. And so he was waiting on me, and he's like this really important dude. And I was just like mortified and like sobbing after the fact. And it was like, because I was like, this is not the Jody that I present. Like, this is not who I am. But it was so performance based. It was like, oh my gosh, like I see, like, again, the emotions were coming up and what's going on. And what was I telling myself in this situation? I was telling myself that I'm not wanted. And that's not truth. Like it's not saying anything about my capabilities or who I am or what I'm able to offer in that position or anything like that. So yeah, it shows up everywhere.
So good. So one of the things that I'm hearing you say, like that you really took from the WIT Collective, was just really being able to peel off the layers and get down to the roots, to get down to the thing that's kind of undergirding all of it, all of your behaviors, all of these reactions, whether you're reacting with your kids or your spouse or to being late to a interview with a CEO. Whereas before going through this and doing some of this work that you've even been doing prior to the WIT Collective, when we don't see those things, what do? We just keep doing.
Keep doing them. Yep.
We keep doing, because I think women who are wired like us, these highly motivated, driven type women, you maybe heard me say this before, if you're watching this live right now or in post, is that doing becomes our drug of choice. When we don't like that we feel yucky about ourselves, we're not turning a lot of times to maybe alcohol or other things. We are turning to the substance abuse of doing. Like we are literally, and we get away with it because it's so productive and it looks so shiny because look at your Post-it notes on the door behind you. You have a massive to-do list. But it is not wrong to do. It's not wrong to be. It's going to be who you are for the rest of your life.
The motivation.
Yeah, it's the motivation of our hearts, where we don't want to cope with how we feel inside. So we don't want to face it. So the way we cope with it is to numb out with doing.
Yep. And then we get affirmed for it, right? Because people are like, oh my gosh, you're so successful in your business and all of this stuff. And
such a good
mom.
What
we don't. Yeah. And in the meantime, you're like dying inside. And I think, oh shoot, what was I going to say? But there's a cost to it, right? Like we may look good on the outside and get that affirmation, but it's not the true love. Like for me, it wasn't the true love and acceptance that was going to help anything. And there was so many costs of like mental exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, physical exhaustion, like, and the rescuing that I would do. Like, I remember we had, there was a time where with one of the companies that I had built, what like customer service was like going crazy because we had just launched a new version and all this stuff. And so like I had a teammate who was helping me like do the customer service, and they were like, I can't do this. Like, this is like frustrating me. So what I did is I rescued. I was like, don't worry about it. I will take care of it. I got it. And so what was I doing? Like literally, like I would wake up in the morning, I would go in the office and I would work till 3 or 4 a.m. I was taking care of my kids. And then our kids would like, I think at that point we just had Jackson, maybe London. And so like he would wake up early, I'd be with him. And it was just, and it like, it was, I don't know how I survived. I survived because I was coping through the work. Like, but that is what was allowing me to numb out. So, that's what I was talking about, is rescuing people, right? So like rescuing people at our own expense, and this is what's something that's been really huge for my growth too, is I've always been so good at reading people. Like that is such an incredible gift, and like figuring out like, what is their need? But then I think where it can go too far is owning the solution for that and taking responsibility for it. And that I've realized has also become a drug that I have used as well, as like, okay, who can I find that doesn't seem capable on their own, and how can I swoop in and rescue them, and I can feel awesome and they can feel awesome and they'll love me because what I'm doing for them. And it's just this crazy cycle that just turns into exhaustion and denying what is needed and wanted for you at the sake of everyone else.
Oh my gosh, Jody. I feel like there's so many things I want to like quote you on, like that you just said. So if you are listening, drop a comment below if you can relate to every word that she just said. Go back, replay, listen to that all over again. I just
Buy
love
the t-shirt.
that. Buy the t-shirt. Holy cow, like I love that. I mean, you've trained yourself for some reason to be able to see what people need, to swoop in, to fix it and to solve it for them. But at the end of the day, it's like you said, the cost is to yourself. The cost is your exhaustion. You're probably resentful because you're doing it all and being it all for everyone. And you're probably not in return getting the affirmation that you actually desired. That the reason you were doing it was to be seen and loved and valued. And hey, I've contributed and, look at me like I'm a helper. And then you're not getting it back. And so I love that you brought up the crazy cycle. We get in this crazy cycle and it really does make us crazy. And that is a lot of the work that we do in the WIT Collective, is peeling that crazy cycle apart layer by layer by layer and being able to stop it, getting clear strategies and clear tools to stop it. So tell me something, you mentioned it a second ago. You said one of the things that we said, you were talking about the cost to yourself, to your energy, all these things. And you said one of the things that you were doing that for was love and connection. So talk to me about the WIT Collective and just how you experienced that group of women, the experience of the program, how it was laid out, however you want to talk about it. Like, how was it different maybe? Because I know you've done a lot of work, you have, when I say work, if you're listening to this and you don't know what I mean by that, you have Jody has invested time and energy and resources, financial resources into herself, into her growth. She's not a stranger to personal growth and development. And so maybe if you're listening to this, you're like, I've never done anything. Is this even something I can do? Yes. But it also, if you're listening going, I have read the books, I've done the podcast, I've been to counseling, I've been to workshops, I've had a coach, I've done it. Welcome to the club. Like we have. And so talk to me about some things that you experienced, even in spite of all the things that you've done, that was maybe a different experience with this for
you. So there are tons of resources out there, and therapists and counselors and even like weekend intensives and, all this stuff. But the thing about a lot of, counselors and the growth work and reading the books is a lot of it is one-on-one or two-on-one if you're doing it with a spouse. And often, like, if there is like a spouse involved, it's someone who doesn't like understand and like get you right. And so I think that's what is so powerful about like the community, like doing work like this in a community environment with like-minded people where we are all after the same thing. We all want to grow. We all want to change. We're putting ourselves in positions to be like, all right, I'm open to feedback that you have for me. And can I speak into you? And it's such a beautiful thing. Like, I have loved the conversations like that have come out of women that I've been involved with this group. And it's been so cool to just support each other throughout the week, or like as something's coming up, like sharing that and having us all like rally around and like speak into that. And just like, I think that is so huge, because no man is an island or something like that. And I think it's so incredible. That's what has been so transformative in my own life. The biggest growth times I have seen is when I'm alone, is when I have someone walking alongside me. And that, I think, is one of the things that I absolutely love about the WIT Collective is the people that it attracts, and then the community inside of it.
That's awesome. I love that. That is definitely one of the heartbeats and the missions, is not going this journey alone. I think a lot of driven, success-minded or high-achieving type women, or women that can like juggle 6 babies and they're just like doing it all. It's like, we do it alone. We do the things alone so much. And so then when it comes to our growth, a lot of times we do it alone. We're reading the books, reading the podcast, we're going to counseling. And it takes forever doing it alone. Like, you could be doing that for years, right? But you also don't have, like you just mentioned, the mirror, the feedback. And when you were talking about not feeling like only feeling good enough if X, Y, and Z, how powerful was it to be able to show up in a group where you could take the mask off, not wear the makeup, do whatever, share your failures, share your faults. How did that feel? Like, did you feel loved? Did you feel connected? did you feel like you were worth something apart from? I mean, most of the women in the group kind of don't even know what each other does. So this might be the first time they're actually hearing what you do, because that's kind of one of our things is we don't really care what you do. It's important and it's awesome, but we're going to set it to the side and we want you, not what you do. So how did that feel?
I mean, honestly, the first week it felt so freeing, because after like we broke off into small groups on Zoom, and then I was like, can I just share what's going on with me? And that like gave me, it felt so good to be open with that. And the women are like, yes, oh my gosh, I relate. And then I shared that when we came back in the bigger group, and it was just like a weight had been lifted. One, like, I love it when I learn something about myself. I'm like, yes, all right, good, let's keep working on that. And then two, just the fact, just to be like welcomed and loved. And I loved how like many of us showed up on our Zoom calls, and I chuckled because we were all like, FYI, I don't have makeup on. I'm like, girl, like that is okay. It's funny, like actually when I see some of the women with makeup on, I'm like, oh, like that's what you look like with makeup, because we're all
Like
just
me,
like,
right now,
this
you're like,
is
oh,
real. You look cute.
thanks. You too. We actually, you guys should feel really
Hey.
special. We did put makeup on for you guys today. Join the WIT Collective. You get pajamas.
For us.
Just kidding.
Pajamas. That's a great idea. So all I just say, being in the group, like with that community has been great. And, you know, I love something that you mentioned about like the growth acceleration. So as we are striving and performing and doing and being driven, and often like, taking the responsibility of others and caretaking them and all that like craziness that wears us down, sometimes at the end of the day, we just don't have that time or that energy to put in ourselves, or if we do, it's just a little bit. So one thing that I love about being a part of a group like this is like every week we're here showing up. So you got to make it a priority if you want to get out what you put in, you know what I mean? So there's that. And then also like, I'm all about efficiency, home slice. Like, I don't want like, here's this nugget of stuff. I don't want to have to go through like a million counseling sessions over the span of the year to get that nugget. Like, please, let's maximize my time. Right. So I think what I loved about, you know, Jenni Ray, like what you have put together is you also have been in the work for years, and you have taken the nuggets and the practicalities and the tools and put it together in this 12-week program. And like the stuff that I have been learning over the course of the last, you know, since I really started into this work, like so much of this gold nuggets have been like compiled and put all together. And then it's practical, like to-dos. Like it's so frustrating. Like when I'm like, okay, but what do I do? And sometimes the answer is within us and we can't rely on other people to tell us. But if a pathway is like laid out before us, then we can figure out how to take that next step on the pathway, what shoes we want to wear and whatever. But anyway, I don't know if that analogy is making sense, but like the pathway is there and the tools are provided, and we can use those tools to help us achieve, you know, the insight and the wisdom that we need to take it to the next level and be free of the things that have really bound us for so long.
I love that. I love your shoe analogy because you know me and shoes.
Perfect. That's where I came from.
I want to lift my foot and show you what I am wearing right now. I love shoes. But it's also like, I think a lot of the women in this group are competitive, right? We've got these competitive natures a little bit. And where myself and a couple would even say, we don't even like playing games if we don't know we can win. And there's been a lot of work on that. I do play games now that it's okay. I'm okay. I'm not raging or throwing anything if I don't win a game. But there was a season. But it's kind of like what you're saying of like, life is a game. It's kind of like this game that we play. We've got relationships, we've got businesses, we've got all these things. And we feel like we're failing when we don't know how to play the game, when we don't know the rules and we don't have the tools in our tool belt to be able to show up to it and do it well. I mean, yes, there's going to be failures. Yes, there's going to be mistakes. But when you feel like you're just like sucking at it and you're not doing well, it's like tap out. I don't want to play this game anymore. Whether it's, I don't want to play parenting. I don't want to do this business. I don't want to do relationships or marriage or whatever it is, because we don't have what it takes, or the other person doesn't have what it takes to just do it on a practical daily basis. And so, it's being able to have the tools to do it well. In closing, thank you first off for sharing just honestly and sharing vulnerably some of the things that you've wrestled with and struggled with. So for those of you listening, the WIT Collective round 2 is, well, for this year is starting in the fall. And right now there is a wait list that is up and live. And there are only so many spots available that will be available in the fall for the WIT Collective. I like to keep it smaller and intimate. We do really get to know each other in that group. We do a lot of really amazing things together. And so that wait list is up and open now. You can go to jenniray.com, JENNIRAE.com. But I know that somebody is listening to this going, I don't know if I even want to like take that step of like getting on a wait list. And the wait list just secures your spot for a conversation to see and explore if it's right for you. And it may or may not be. But if there is a woman listening to this, Jody, who's just got fear, just this fear of like, I don't know if I have what it takes. I don't know if I'm awesome enough to join a group like this. I don't know if we just get bombarded, don't we, as women, for all these things. And first and foremost, I want to tell you, if you're listening, though, that is that inner villain, those voices that are actually trying to keep you from the awesome on the other side of saying no. Shut those voices down and don't listen. But Jody, what would you tell that woman who might be battling fear or feeling like even inadequate or like not enough to be a part of something like this? Or can she do it? What would you tell her?
I would say that's probably your own shame story keeping you from greatness. So if you, are part of the WIT Collective, you'll start to knock that story out. Yeah. And you'll be free from that, because it can be very debilitating. And I believe that we all have a purpose and a calling on our lives. And then our villain inside of us wants to prevent and keep us from that purpose. And so, whatever you believe, like whether it be like the Lord or a higher power of some sort, and, you have a calling on your life, and there are things that want to keep you from that. And so I just want to encourage you, like when there's that fear, like what else could be true that there's fear there? It's what could be true is right behind that fear is something incredible and even more fulfilling and more freeing, but you got to get through that fear.
And you don't have to do it alone. That's the beautiful thing.
No.
This, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. That's everything that you've been saying is it's not alone. You're in a collective. Yep. You're in a group of people who are all afraid, and they're doing it afraid.
Right.
And the crazy part
Together.
is it's all these women who have done amazing. I mean, we've done amazing things. You birthed a baby. You're amazing. Like you're running your home. You're amazing. You're running your home and working a job or a business. That's amazing. And yet when it comes to ourselves, it's like, oh, can I do it? It's like, yes, you can. Look at all this data that's evidence that points to that. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I hope that some other women are just encouraged today by your story and your honesty. And I'm encouraged by you, friend. I love you. I'm proud of you.
Love you.
Yes, this journey has been fun, and it's going to have a big fat ... because it's just to be continued, right?
Always is.
Just going to keep doing this thing called life together.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, and have a good day in your very clean room. Go knock some of those Post-it notes out.
No.
No. Go enjoy yourself.
Thanks everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
It's been beneficial.
It has been. Thank you for sharing.
Bye.
All right. Bye.